Find what is going to be gold standard, both in terms of test accuracy, but also gold standard for you and your learning style. All right. Second most important thing is in your study, emphasize quality over quantity. I see a ton of students who are like, I've done every single question out there 5 times and my score isn't improving. That's because their study is bad. It's because often they're going through questions, go, 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 but they're not reviewing them. They're not learning anything. In fact, they're making the same mistake over and over and over and over and over and over and over again and actually building bad habits. Maybe they're using materials that aren't realistic to the test. And so their study is not good. So, what we want to do is first, we want to use the best materials possible. So, the first piece of that is making sure those materials are test accurate, they are realistic. You want to use questions that are official or from a reputable source. If you don't know where the question's from, you should not use it because it is unlikely to be realistic. Don't waste your time with the bad stuff. Focus on the good stuff. There's less of it, but if you use it wisely, it can benefit you more. The second piece of that is making sure that your study materials work for you. So some students are really, really great at self-study. They can get a list of questions, they can work through each question, and then questions they're confused about, they can look up online, find the expert answers on the forums, and they're good to go. That works for them. But for other students, they need a little bit more guidance. Maybe they need lessons. Maybe they need more of a refresher on some content and some strategy. Their program, maybe something like Magoosh, would be appropriate. Additionally, you might find that you are someone who likes the accountability of something live. There's something like Magoosh GRE live classes might be appropriate. Maybe someone really needs one-on-one attention. In that case, something like a tutor might be valuable, maybe even just a couple of hours. Find what is going to be gold standard, both in terms of test accuracy, but also gold standard for you and your learning style. And I've already kind of hinted at this, but prioritize your weaknesses. Going through and drilling questions is not super useful because often those questions are not something you need to be working on. Right? So focus on the things that are important for you. So things that are important for your program. If you need to be prioritizing math because your program only cares about math, only care about math. Focus on that. If your program is going to care about both, we're going to maybe focus on our worst sections. We can prioritize those weaknesses and build up our lowest areas. Within a section, you're going to want to focus on the types of problems that are giving you the most difficulty. So like I mentioned earlier, if you really need to improve your verbal score, well, what problems are you missing the most? Are you missing reading comprehension the most? Are you missing multi-question reading comprehension or single question reading comprehension? Those are different. They have different question types. Are you missing sentence equivalence the most? Are you missing text completion the most? Prioritize those weaknesses. And then even more granularly, prioritize specific individual errors. Like I said, when you make the same mistake over and over again, you actively build bad habits and your study is hurting you instead of helping you. It's a complete waste of time. So when you make a mistake, instead of moving on, stop. Hold it on that mistake and make it your goal to never make that mistake ever again. A really helpful framework is what, why, how. So, what did I do wrong? Why did I do that? And then how can I not do that on a similar question? Not the same question, because you're never going to see that one again, but a different question with a similar structure. How do I identify it and how do I avoid that same mistake? And when we go through that process and review maybe those notes in an error log, that helps us to not make that same mistake. It helps us to actually learn and improve. All right, so with your study, quality over quantity. Then, thing 3, think critically. You might be surprised. Where's the content, right? I mean, maybe I talked a little about prioritizing weaknesses, reviewing content that's not an area of strength. And yeah, you should know the content. But that is not what this test is about. This test is not really testing, do you know geometry? It's can you think critically using geometry as a foundation? It's not testing vocab. It's testing, can you think critically using vocab as a foundation? So when you are going through these questions, yeah, you should prioritize, do you know this or not? But you should also prioritize thinking critically. For every question, there is a trap. There is something that the test makers have devised that is going to require you to think critically to get out of. Most likely, the easiest answer, the answer that feels the most likely, is not the right answer because it's a trap. And you have to think, okay, what am I missing here? What am I missing? What piece of this is not coming together in order to get the right answer? So if anything feels too easy, pause. What's the trap? What am I not thinking about here? And that's what's going to help you get the right answer. So thinking like the person who wrote that question, going, what were they trying to do? What am I missing? All right. So content, but more than that, critical thinking. And then the last piece is to, if possible, plan for a retake. So you know when you need your scores by, but generally in test prep, students do better on their retake than on their first one. And part of that is that your first test, it gives you more of a baseline. It tells you what you need to improve on, but also because it gives you an opportunity to try a practice run. So if maybe you find that that environment is particularly stressful, you can help deal with that for next time. Or maybe you find, okay, I was really good at timing in my practice, but maybe not live. Okay, that's something that I need to deal with. Maybe you got thrown off by an experimental section, something along those lines. If possible, it's a good idea to take it once officially. Give yourself a little bit of time to address some issues, and then take it again and have that be your final scores. Now, maybe that's not in the cards. Maybe you only have a few weeks until you need your scores. That's fine. Maybe it's not financially viable to take it 2 times. That's also fine. But if it is possible, setting yourself up for success by scheduling 2 test dates with a couple of weeks in between, a few weeks in between at least, can help you be most successful and get the scores that you want on that second test.